Black Alpha Network. Home of Black excellence. Power to the people.
Certified salute to my foundational Black American freedmen family. Roll call time. It never changes. Let me know where you at. Let me know where you from. Let's represent loud and proud and let everybody know that this political season is all about us. It's all about our Black agenda, and it's all about getting what belongs to the family. Black Alpha Network, Certified Black Society. Smash that like button, y'all. Subscribe to the channel. We building, we working, we shining, we grinding. When we say it's all about political power, and we say we're going to start bringing our agenda to every politician, and when we say that what belongs to us is going to come home, then family, it starts right now. I told y'all we going platinum, so let's work. Yes, sir, family. We are here. We are live. We are official. Black Alpha Network. We are here representing the Black Grassroots Certified Black Society. You guys make sure you smash that like button. You guys make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we are going to break down a whole lot of receipts, and we're going to talk about what needs to be talked about. I have a very distinguished guest. You guys all know who he is, representing this election, representing candidates that we can listen to, talk to, and bring our agenda to. You guys know that. This is Dr. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West, how are you doing, sir?
Brother, you blessed me in a mighty way, though. I can tell you that. I know you're in Savannah, come out of Toledo, home of the greatest jazz pianist in the history of the world. That's Tatum.
Talk it. There we go.
Art Tatum, ain't nothing like it. But Ohio's always been Funkfield. You know that.
Oh, that's Funkland.
Ohio players, Bootsy coming out of Cincinnati, Isley Brothers out of Cincinnati, later on T-Neck. Felipe Wynn singing lead for the Spinners. He out of Cincinnati. I tell you, man, Ohio was something else. But now you're bringing that to Savannah, James Brown town.
Yes.
On almighty. But I want to salute you for your brilliance, man, your intellect, your courage, your willingness to not just love Black people, but to act on it in such a way that you change the world. And that makes a difference. You're touching souls, you're unsettling minds, and you're changing the world. And you're doing it with style. You're doing it coming from your soul, you know what I mean? And that's what James Brown forever reminds us. You know, when he and Bobby Bird went to Savannah and they founded a gospel choir. Little James fell in love with Bobby Bird's sister for a while. And they asked James, they said, what's the name of your gospel choir? He looked at Bobby because they didn't have no name. And he said, Ever Ready. And that's a deep, see, that's part of his genius already as a teenager, man. You got to be ever ready. Put on the full armor, your heart, mind, soul, body, bear witness, go to jail, do what you do, sing your song, paint your painting, whatever it is. You're serving the people. You're serving something bigger than you. You got to be ever ready. Brother Todd, you ever ready, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, ever ready, man. It's beautiful.
I appreciate that. I agree with you. I always tell people all the time, mind, body, and soul, mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole trifecta, the whole spectrum. Got to bring it all the time. That's what we all represent. You know, we represent for the Black grassroots. I'm a Northerner, mixed Southerner, but we got some East Coast, some West Coast, and we just have that whole love from all the people. And then when we put it together, we dominate everything, but at the same time, we persevere. But when you can dominate by persevering and you put those collectively, then you have us as people. So I appreciate that sentiment, brother. I definitely respect it. And I'm gonna always ride for the people, no matter what. I appreciate it.
That's a beautiful thing. You know, Sly Stone just came out with a autobiography. Thank you for letting me be myself.
Yes, sir.
And on page 113, he got a description of Richard Pryor, because Richard Pryor used to open for Sly in Madison Square Garden, 1970. Oh yeah, because Richard come out there and get people fired up, and then Sly come on, say, Stan, you've been sitting much too long. You're a permanent crease. Am I right and wrong? Stan, there's a midget standing tall and the giant beside him about to fall. Stan. the cross for you to bear, things to go through. If you going anywhere, stand, they will try to make you crawl because they know, Brother Todd, Black Alpha, what you're saying makes sense and all. And what he described Richard Pryor with 5 deep words, man, and it's something for all of us to take in. Yes, he said, he was only ever him.
Dang. I like that.
He was only ever him, which means, how do you get the courage to be yourself, to be a free Black man, free Black woman, the way Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, the way Martin was, the way Richard Pryor was, the way James Brown was, the way so many of our great Coltrane was, the way Sarah Vaughan was, to be free. And the only way you could be free is to be open to all the love and courage and integrity that's been poured into you by mama, daddy, aunt, uncle, grandma, granddad, or just listening to some Anita Baker. Because we can get it through the arts, or just reading Toni Morrison and Du Bois. You can get it through text, but you primarily get it through family and community. You primarily get it through solidarity. And it could be a nightclub, because I'm a Baptist and Christian, but I believe in nightclubs too, you know. So it could be in the nightclub and you listen to somebody singing a dramatics and you elevate it because the best of your culture is coming through sound. So you get fortified and you get ever ready. You get prepared in that way. But in the end, he was only ever him. Wasn't trying to be somebody else. Might as well be who you are, because you can't be what you ain't. And everybody's who they are, but not somebody else.
I know that's right.
That's the beautiful thing. And I tell you, what has kept Black folk going, and you are a grand example of it for the younger generation. I'm old school, of course. But what's kept Black folk going is we recognize we've been hated for 400 years, but we keep dishing out love warriors every generation. You see?
Yes, sir.
So that the hate don't have the last word. We keep swinging. Keep fighting.
Keep on swinging. I love that. I tell people, you know, our moral compass is pretty much, it's undebatable, and it's really nothing anybody can compete with. Our moral compass, and the way that we've always fought for so many different people, we've always stood on our own square, but at the same time, people look towards us, not just for fashion, not just for music, not just for all the different genres of entertainment. People also look to us because we've been the ones, as you said, that stood on principles, stood on morality, stood on ethics. And a lot of people, most people can't say that, and they definitely can't match the level that we've done it at, even to the point where we've done things for other people where it has not benefited us. But we still have stood on it because that, as you say, is who you are, and you got to be yourself. So, brother, I echo those sentiments. And that's one thing about us. I would say we win in style, but we win by playing fair. We don't have to cheat. We got to get dirty, but we just win by being ourselves and playing fair. And if you can do that, you definitely are winning.
Ooh, brother, you inspired me. You got me fired up, man. I'm telling you, Black Alpha's in the house. I'm in the house of Black Alpha. And I'm a blessed man to be in the house of Black Alpha, man.
I appreciate that, brother. And I appreciate you coming through and speaking for us. I want to ask you some questions, you know, about, you know, in general. And I love the introduction that we just gave, and we laid a good platform about, like you said, being yourself. That's a great quote, being who you are and keep swinging. I love that. That's a great way to start this off. Everybody out there, you guys smash that like button. You guys subscribe to this channel, and you guys follow us, because this is what it's all about. This is how you come to the table. This is how you speak. This is how you galvanize. You motivate yourself, you mobilize, and you strategize. Some of the things I want to talk to you about are pressing things in this time, in this era that we're all living in. And one of the main things that I want to speak about, first off, is your intentions to run for president of the United States of America, the highest office in the land, because there is a duopoly in terms of the Republicans and the Democrats, and it's drained a lot of people for years. It's, do you go here? Do you go there? But what happens when neither one of them serve you? What happens when they both give you benign neglect policies? And Black Americans have always pretty much been subjugated to benign neglect. They love us when it's vote season. They love us when it's vote season. When it's time for the vote, they'll sing and they'll dance and then they'll recite things. But when it's time for policies, we see them go off to everybody else. So we're seeing a new era, a revolution, a renaissance, where foundational Black American brothers and sisters, American freedmen, we're to the point now where we're really questioning these parties and saying, what are you going to give us as an exchange for our vote? And the best way to do that is to confront the duopoly. So a lot of brothers and sisters are seeing that you're coming from a third party aspect. My first question would be, what made you want to throw your hat in the ring of becoming president? And then the second, how do you feel about us getting over that duopoly that a lot of people refer to as a revolution of sorts? And I would present that to you.
Yeah, no, appreciate that question, my brother. See, part of it has to do with trying to situate yourself in a particular tradition of resistance.
Yes, sir.
A particular tradition of resilience. And my tradition, very much like yours, has to do with always looking at the world through the lens of those the great Frantz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, those who have been exploited, dominated, subjugated, demeaned, and degraded. Now, I speak also as a revolutionary Christian, so it means through the lens of the cross. And the cross signifies unarmed truth, the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. Yes, and unapologetic love that begins on the side of the least of these. For me, it begins on the chocolate side. You see, so, yes, so radical Black love means you become a free person.
Right, right.
Radical Black freedom means you become a love warrior. They go hand in hand. So then when I look at the American political system, what do I see? It's a failure when it comes to Black, poor, and working people. And in some ways, it's a failure when it comes to poor and working people across the board. But I always begin on the chocolate side of town. I got to begin with mom and dad, and grandma, and I'm a product of Shiloh Baptist Church as well as the Black Panther Party, right?
Speak on it.
That's where I start.
Free
It's been a failure. It's been a failure, man. Mass incarceration, decrepit school systems, inadequate housing, not enough health care, especially for Black sisters. Look at the mortality, infant mortality rate for Black women. It's a silent ticking kind of genocide in that way, you see? So that becomes a starting point. But what does that mean? Well, it means very much like our music. See, the blues is one of the greatest breakthroughs in the history of the species in terms of music. And the blues is about catastrophe. Yes, personal narrative of catastrophe, lyrically expressed, honestly encountered, and artistically transfigured. So when you hear Billie Holiday sing about strange fruit, she ain't singing about no problem. She's singing about a catastrophe. But she's artistically transfiguring the suffering in such a way that we're empowered. So we're not just sad, but we also ready to fight. Or B.B. King says, nobody loves me but my mama, and she might be jiving too. That's a catastrophe, man. Anybody in the world and only got one person to fall back on, and that's your mama, and you find that your mama might be jiving. I say, beat me, man. That's a little too heavy. Because my mama loved me to death. Your mother loved you to death right there in Savannah. You know what I mean? And that's true for folk who are listening. Right. But it might not be true for everybody. So catastrophe is a starting point. You see, that's where you start. Then the question becomes, how do you muster courage and compassion to fight, to think, to organize in the face of the catastrophe? That's the crucial thing. See, part of the problem of the two-party system is they ain't never cared about Black people enough to understand we dealing with catastrophe. They reduce our catastrophe to a problem. You know, people say, oh, America got a race problem. America ain't never had no race problem. America has had catastrophes visited upon Black people and indigenous people too. So when you start with catastrophe, which is where our music starts.
Yes, sir.
Billie Holiday ain't singing about no problems. She's singing about the truth.
Right.
When you shift from the catastrophe to problem, you deodorize, sanitize, and sterilize the catastrophe. You trivialize the suffering, which is another way of saying you're afraid of the funk. The funk is about catastrophe and how you muster the courage to get you some kind of armor and get fortified to fight that catastrophe. That's the legacy. That's the vicious legacy of white supremacy. And we have to respond creatively, courageously, with vision. Well, that's the tradition. Now, when you're rooted in that tradition, what happens when it spills over into politics? Brother, man, that's like a jazz man showing up in a military band, or that's like James Brown's band showing up at a bluegrass concert. Things gonna get funky.
You can't play football with a basketball, right?
That's it. That's it, though, brother. That's exactly it. You got to be telling some truths that they've been denying.
I like that.
They don't want to deal with the effects of slavery. That's why reparations is so very important in this campaign, right? Because it's about truth and justice. If you love people and they've been treated in a vicious way, then you got to talk about it, put a spotlight on it, and then come up with ways of addressing it. It's about truth and justice. So you've never had two parties concerned about reparations. How come? Because they ain't really concerned that much about Black life and Black suffering. They can add some Black folk into their party for window dressing, but their fundamental commitment is always to what? War. Oh, they get trillions and trillions of dollars when it's time to war. But what about poverty? Oh, you can't really come up with too much. What about healthcare? What about education? What about housing? No, we got a budget crunch. But when it's time to go to war, we got trillions of dollars. Same is true at Wall Street. Same is true at Wall Street. See, Wall Street gets all kind of subsidies, tax abatement. That's welfare.
Welfare.
And yet when it comes to Black folk who are poor, who are calling for some kind of help, pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. You didn't do that to Wall Street. We saw that in 2008. What happened when Wall Street gangsters pushed the economy to the edge? They got off for free.
Yes,
they got
did.
Subsidies.
They wrote them a big check, didn't they?
That big trillions of dollars coming out of the Federal Reserve and the government. You say, hey, what's going? That's warped priorities.
That's a good point. That's a good one.
Warped priorities.
I always tell them, matter of fact, since we started off talking about music, let me quote the great Tupac Shakur. He said it best. Tupac said, when you start talking about America, they got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Okay, then we can flip over to the great Nasir Jones, and he said there shouldn't be nobody homeless. How can the president fix other problems when he ain't fixed home yet? And this is what us Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, have been saying for the longest, is that they have money for everybody. That is even sometimes domestic, but also abroad and domestic, both. But whenever it comes to us, the people who built this country, you don't really see that emphasis as you were speaking of. And I always tell people like this. There is a Black grassroots agenda now where, like you said, we're speaking on reparations. I'm one of them. And there's a lot of people who take reparations so serious because what we have done in terms of building this country, what we have done in terms of maintaining, sustaining, and elevating this country, all the great parts, everybody flies here too. I've lived outside the country, traveling around the world. People are watching us, this particular lineage, heritage, and culture, and they want to come here. And America has made godly amounts of money off of us. We receive nothing. But like, as you say, Wall Street's getting the money, war, manufacturing companies, everybody's getting it. What are some of the pushbacks you get being an independent candidate, being a third party? Because I know one thing, the Republicans and Democrats will fight each other all day long about things that serve the people. They can't ever agree. Soon as you talk about war, they agree. And then soon as you start talking about a third party candidate, then all of a sudden they become tag team partners. What are some of the resistance and blowbacks that you have seen and hurdles and obstacles that you've encountered by being an independent third party candidate for the 2024 election?
I tell you, brother, I announced 6 months ago, they've been coming at me first with bows and arrows and after even more intensely. But you know what? That's a good sign. That's for me a compliment. That's like a Black freedom fighter being on the list of the FBI. That's a high compliment. You must be doing something right and telling the truth about oppressed people if the powers that be and those in the status quo at the very top are trying to come at you. And a lot of it's personal, and then it's political and all different kind of attacks and assaults. Hey, that's par for the course. That's par for the course. And yet, I want to get back to Brother Tupac, though, because, you know, Tupac means so much to me. We used to have a Timbuktu Learning Center, National Black United Front, 415 Atlantic Avenue, House of Lord Pentecostal Church, Reverend Herbert Daltrey, that we founded that. And I used to teach every Wednesday, and Tupac was on the front row.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I like
every
that.
Wednesday. Ain't that deep? With Sister Affinity. Sister Affinity. You remember the Black Panther Party? She was also a member of Daltrey's church at that time. And I can see both of them sitting there. He was very young at that time. I can see those beautiful eyes that he had. Now, I didn't know he gonna be the genius that he turned out to be. You know what I mean?
Greatest rapper
But
of
the
all
very
time.
fact that
Go.
he was there with all the marvelous teachers. I was just one small teacher among others, and I was only in about 23, 24 myself, right? But he's taking in that tradition. This is what I mean by the love, insight, wisdom that's poured into you.
Right.
See, Brother Todd, you've had so much poured into you, man, and in ways that only you know.
Yes,
you
sir.
know what I mean? Because it goes beyond language, it goes beyond things given. It's love and self-confidence and self-respect are things that sustain us from womb to tomb. And so that the whole sense of how we are able to be love warriors becomes crucial, because one of the ways in which the powers that be try to keep us down is to keep us scared, full of fear, intimidated, not believing in ourselves and others, not believing we can sustain organization, so that we end up deferring to the powers that be. And once you straighten up, that's what we started off singing that song by Sly. Stand, once you stand and straighten your back up.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
Martin King used to say, anytime, every day, people straighten their backs up, they going somewhere, because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. But we got too many Black folk whose backs are weak, bent over, almost spineless sometimes. So they don't want to straighten up and fight and be fortified in that way. But once you do, you follow through on the Black national anthem, the Negro national anthem, which is lift every voice. Not lift every echo. Lift every voice. You can't find your voice like Coltrane unless you straighten your back up.
You said it the other day. I heard you say a lot of these Black spokespersons, all they're doing is sharing an echo and expressing a silo.
Ooh, I said something like that, huh?
You said that. I heard that's a quote from you, brother. That's a quote from you. I see it. And it's indicative of what's going on nowadays, because that seems to be the play that they give us. They give us Black faces in high places, and then we've seen those people are just expressing echo chambers from whatever political party they belong to. This is why American freedmen, foundational Black Americans as a lineage, we're really done with that type of symbolism, those gestures. The days of the symbolism and the gestures are over. People want tangible, we want benefits, we want resources, the same way we see everybody else receive them. So that was an actual statement that stood out to me, because it's an echo, it's a silo, it's the same thing as cookie cutter, it's a copycat, it's a clone, it's a diversion, it's everything to persuade us to go in different ways. And as you said, being scared. 9 times out of 10, these political parties, they don't ever tell us what they're going to do for us. They tell us to watch out for what someone else will do for us. And that ain't going to work politically. Like, you don't go to your job and say, don't pay me, just tell me what the guy across the street might do. That's not the way it works. You know, I vote, they give an exchange. They don't have to tell us about, well, that guy over there, that boogeyman is going to come get you if you don't vote for us, or those bad people over there are going to come get you if you don't vote for us. And that's been the reality for American freedmen for 60 plus years. And this is why a lot of us are starting to look towards third-party candidates. This is why we're looking towards independent. This is why we're stepping away from the Democratic plantation and the Republican plantation. I tell people, whether your plantation is painted in red or is painted in blue, it is still a plantation. So we have to get off that plantation, not just figuratively, but literally. And that's another question I want to ask you as we speak about that.
That's pop. But just let that sink in.
Let simmer. Okay, we let that cook right there. Yes, sir.
You know, James Lawson, who was closest to Martin King, he was one who invited King actually to come to Memphis right before he was
right.
Yes, James Lawson was a great man. He's still alive, 95 years old. But he came out with a book last year that had to do with plantation capitalism. Plantation capitalism. Your analysis really coincides with his thing of plantation capitalism. So you got the 1% at the top that has all this money, that has the ability to create these huge plantations, and then invites people in. And people think they're really free because they're making some good money. They might be living relatively well and so forth, but they still scared and intimidated to speak the truth. And they scared and intimidated to really fight for justice for poor and working people. They might fight for justice for their fellow folk in the middle classes, but we're talking about justice for poor and working people.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a different thing.
Yes, sir.
We want justice across the board, but you always begin with the least of these. That's Harriet Tubman. That's Malcolm. That's Martin King. That's A. Philip Randolph. That's Marcus Garvey. That's Toni Morrison. They always looked at the world through the lens of those who were catching the most hell. That's crucial. That's fundamental. I mean, this book right here, I know your people already know this book.
You already know. Yes, yes, indeed. Reparations all day. Lineage.
Yeah, we had this brother Sandy. I just had a wonderful dialogue with him on Tim Black. But I've known him for 45 years or so because we've been part of reparations movement that long. But this book lays it out.
Yes, sir.
With all the data, all the evidence, all the argument, and in the name of truth and justice, because that's the important thing. But isn't it something, though, man, that you can't get one black politician critical of the Israeli genocidal attack on Palestinians?
Oh,
It's just a sad thing, though, man. We reached such a low point that we could see genocide on television and can't have one major black voice because so many of them are paid off, so many of them are sold out, so many of them have given up on telling the full truth and therefore find themselves in a bind. And when you're in a bind like that, what happens? You get exposed. The veil gets ripped off. You know what I mean? I know Brother Cat Williams been talking about 2024 as the year of truth.
Peeling them layers back, ain't he? Peeling them layers back.
Peel the layers back. Now, I don't believe any of us have monopoly on truth, because I believe all of us are cracked vessels. All of us got faults and foibles and everything. But you can still raise your voice, and you can still tilt your life and behavior toward truth and justice. Nobody's going to be pure and perfect and pristine. Nobody's free of spot or wrinkle, as the old pastors used to say. But you can orient your life in that way. Well, see, 2024, my brother, how'd you put it? You're peeling off those layers?
Peeling them layers on back, exposing the real. The gun in the dark, come to light, and we shine in the light.
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about, brother.
That's what the Black grassroots movement has really been pushing. And if you notice, it's been changing the world. I tell people all the time, there is a revolution going on. There's a renaissance going on, and it's the Black grassroots. It just shows you that when you put us all together, you put our minds together, our thoughts, and the way we process things, everything changed. There's not been anything that our lineage, heritage, and culture has not put our minds towards, and we have done. When we're on code, we're undefeated, you know? So I tell people right now, I said, there's a new wave, and it's a new momentum, and it's lineage based, and it is sweeping across the whole country, and it's based upon the Black grassroots. It's being birthed out of the Black grassroots. It is the American freedmen and foundational Black Americans, and that's all intertwined. That's all is one. We are foundational Black Americans, meaning we are foundation to this land because we built this country, because we are the notion. I always tell people like this, and the best way I always put it, I say, and this is my whole giddy up, I say, we are foundational Black Americans, foundation to this country because we built it, and we are natives to this country. And when you put our lineage, heritage, and culture together, we're undefeated. You can look at us. We're the only non-immigrant and non-deportable people in this country. We started this. We are the architect. I always say, not day 3, 4, 5, not day 2, day 1. And when you put us all together, we get stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's what's sweeping across the country. We took the term African American and we replaced that with foundational Black American. And that's not a slight to African Americans, because an African American is an African who came here from Africa. You understand what I'm saying? Well, we built this. So we've been on this lineage-based reparations movement, and we've been focusing on lineage-based things because what we see is they use trick words to confuse us. They use trick words to take us out of where we are. And what we've been doing now is going strong. So yes, we are foundational Black Americans. We're foundational because we built this land. We're foundational because we're native to this land. We're the only non-immigrant and non-deportable people here. We are lineage, heritage, and culture. We took the term African out, placed the term foundational in, because an African American is an African who moved here from Africa. We didn't move here, we grew here. We didn't fly here, we reside here. We didn't come here, we're from here. So that foundational Black American lineage, heritage, and culture movement is sweeping the whole country. That FBA flag is waving high in that FBA sky, brother. It's a beautiful thing. You dig it?
Wow, wow, no, indeed, though, brother. Now I saw you speaking before. It was a committee or something. What was that? Was that a city council or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. Reparations.
Where was that, though, brother?
I was in Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia. I drove 4 hours to talk for 2 minutes. I believe I gave a speech of the year that year. We're going to give another one this year. But yeah, I spoke on reparations and waving that flag for reparations, because that's what it's all about. This is what the general consensus has been, is about us getting lineage-based reparations and taking care of what we can take care of. But at the same time, it's a debt that is belonging to us. So they owe the debt, they got to cut the check. And that's what a lot of brothers and sisters have been doing. That's why we are approaching all candidates. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on and see your stance on reparations for foundational Black American freedmen.
Oh, you see, I was blessed to sit at the feet of Queen Mother Moore. Queen Mother Moore is one of the greatest figures when it comes to the history of the struggle for reparations. She was also known as the mayor of Harlem.
Yes, sir.
In Harlem, 123rd Street, New York City, you see. And that's true all the way through Randall Robinson. You know, Randall Robinson founded Trans-Africa. He wrote that book, The Debt, which is another classic on reparation, The Debt, that he just passed. He just died. He left America in exile. He didn't want to live in America no more, but he went to the Caribbean. But he just recently died. He's a magnificent freedom fighter, came out of Richmond, Virginia. So I've been blessed to be part of the reparation movement for over 40-some years. And I think that it's coming into its own. It's getting a little weak versions, you know, in California, New York, people trying to appropriate it, but we need it from the grassroots. It's got to come from the bottom up so that the voices of the people are not just heard, but they shape the destiny in that way. And that's fundamental. But you know, when you were talking about foundational, and you tell me what you think about this, because I resonate with you about 98.5%. But I do want to save a place for indigenous peoples and their land. Because when you say that we're the only, we didn't come voluntarily, and that we're the foundation of the country, you are absolutely right in terms of the economic foundation, in terms of the cultural foundation and so forth. But what we didn't provide was the land, and the land was stolen because of indigenous peoples being pushed out. That was genocidal. See, there was millions and millions and millions of indigenous people that now.
Here's one of the things: a lot of us who are foundational Black Americans are indigenous people. So
that's true too.
That's the main point. You know, we are, in terms of foundational Black Americans, indigenous, native, and we came in the slave trade. When the slave trade came, that was about the third wave of us. The indigenous people that we speak of, they typically give us the red Indian, the more of the Pocahontas look. But here's the kicker. There's Black Native Americans, and you can go down to Louisiana, Mississippi right now. That's why we all grew up as Black people, and we were all told that we had Indian in us. Grandma wasn't lying. Great-grandpa weren't lying. So we ended up getting intermixed with them, but they ended up really getting our sole political identity. In terms of them, they've also had reparations, multiple ones, free college, school, tuition, reservations. I've been on reservations. They've been served based on their native indigenous status. We've been ignored and denied based on our original indigenous status. So this is why we take the term foundational.
I see.
The indigenous, the slave trade, all across the board. Our blood on this soil is pure as day. And this is why we are saying foundational Black American, because we're letting everybody know there's 3, 4, 5 waves of us, but we are here today and we coming to get the check. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best. They always tell us about when Dr. Martin Luther King said he had a dream. Well, his dream has been clear that he also said, we're going to Washington and we're coming to get our check. And I sat down with our good brother, across the way, but I went to a reparations rally hosted by my good brother, Tariq Nasheed. And it was the biggest reparations rally in American history. And it was about foundational Black Americans coming to get our check. And we held signs up, we played the audio, and it was based on the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King. So foundational Black Americans, Dr. Martin Luther King, who's a foundational Black American, we all agreed that we are coming to get our check. And this era is strong, my brother.
No, but brother, I love the relation. You are teaching me. Of course, I want to just thank you again how you instructed and inspired me. But I was thinking also you were talking about that first wave of the species making their way into this hemisphere where the species itself emerges out of Africa. And
Yes,
so
sir.
all of us in that sense are Africans, but you're going to say more.
Yes, sir. And that's the thing. We always acknowledge our descendants from being Africans, but it's more of a distant descendant. And that's about race. And we're speaking nationality. We're talking about ethnicity. We're talking about lineage or heritage, where when you have people who are descendants from Italy, they just consider them Caucasians or white, and they're just flat Americans. When you start talking about the Scottish man, he's just an American. When it comes to us, we tend to put African in the continent above our nationality. So therefore, whenever we have a national claim like reparations, they don't want to give it to us, or they want to disperse it amongst anybody else. So that's why we put the term foundational, and it's just a specific term. It's not a slight to anyone, but it's just specifying and making a distinction politically. The same way where a Puerto Rican who has claims from Puerto Rico, he doesn't just go under all Hispanics, or a Mexican doesn't go under all Hispanics. A Mexican who comes here from Mexico, they may have specific needs for them as an actual ethnicity. Same with a Puerto Rican, a Venezuelan, someone from Nicaragua. It's the same thing. And even when you go to the continent of Africa, the Senegalese, the Zimbabweans, the Nigerians, they all will tell you that we're all Africans, but we are different people with different tribes, different backgrounds. So it seems like with us, nationality tends to get brushed to the side and we focus on race. We all admit and we all acknowledge that everybody is from Africa, but that's from a racial standpoint. From a nationality, ethnic lineage standpoint, we put the emphasis on foundational Black American, and it's also our status of American freedmen. So it's the same thing, American freedmen. No one ever says that we're African freedmen. We say American freedmen, people who can be traced back to slavery, which is very distinctive. We got a distinct culture from hip hop to music to food to all the elements that make America such a great country. It goes back to those American freedmen, which nowadays we combine the two of American freedmen and foundational Black American. We use those interchangeably. So it's just a lineage movement. It's a heritage movement. No slight to anybody else. But at the same time, everybody else can be who they are. And now we're saying, well, let us be who we are nationality and ethnicity wise. But we do not denounce any form of being Black. We don't denounce any form of being descendants of Africa, but we are immediate indigenous to the United States of America. Does that make sense, brother?
No, but I just love that deep sense of humanity. And I love that deep commitment to love and justice for ourselves and for anybody across the board. Because one of the great gifts of Black people to the modern world has been not only our spirit, not only our artistic creativity, but has been our moral embrace of others who suffer, even as we come to terms with our own suffering.
Yes, sir.
That's what it means to be a wounded healer rather than a wounded herder. You see, if you get wounded and all you're gonna do is just spread more wounds, then you're not ascending to a higher moral and spiritual greatness. The greatness of Black people has been that our leaders, our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, at their best have always tried to aspire to a moral and a spiritual greatness while loving themselves.
Yes, sir.
You see, and that in love, that includes the Blackness, that includes the skin color, that includes the nose, that includes the hips, that includes everything. But it doesn't have to put others down. It loves ourselves, and then moves toward love and justice. And that's a beautiful, beautiful tradition.
That's a very beautiful thing. And if you look, as we say, in terms of American freedmen, think about it. We fought in every single war in this country. We fought in the Revolutionary War that created America. We fought in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, both Iraqi wars, Afghanistan war. We did things for America in this country where we couldn't even walk down the street and, you know, not be harassed. We couldn't even go get a hamburger. Remember, Muhammad Ali said it best. He said he went to go get a hamburger, and this is a gold medalist. And they said, no, you get out of here. But he still served the United States of America in a proper way. I think Floyd Mayweather said it best. He said when he goes fights for the Olympics, he's fighting as a Black American. They don't say Floyd, the African American. They say he's the foundational Black American, or just the American in general, you know. And look also what we've done in terms, even in Africa, just so this to your point about how we have that love for people. We fought for so many movements in Africa. You can look at the apartheid situation. Back in the early 90s, it was what's the word, Johannesburg. And that was spoken in English.
Oh, indeed.
And we were the ones representing. You know, we sent freedom fighters. Vietnam, right. The Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party assisted the Vietnamese. So our history and rich tradition as foundational Black Americans and American freedmen of assisting everybody else and just showing them love that a lot of times we never got in return. That shows you, as we speak of, the moral compass of us. So we move morally strong, and we make everyone clear that we have nothing but self-pride and self-interest. But at the end of the day, what we do is our lineage, heritage, and culture. Typically, it shows the world how to move. Because if you look now, there's a lot of reparations movements based on people watching us. There's a lot.
no,
So we're an influence, not just an
I
influence
hear you.
politically and socially, but we're also an influence in terms of revolutionary wise. So it's a beautiful thing, brother. It's
it's a beautiful thing. It's a love supreme, and we ought to be in solidarity with any people who are being bombed indiscriminately. Same would be true in 2024 in Gaza. You see that if you killed 11, 12,000 babies in 2.5 months, something spiritually sick is going on. Genocide, crime against humanity, war crime, and so forth. Why? Because the Palestinian baby has the same value as the Israeli baby, and vice versa. Palestinian baby got the same value as my own baby or anybody else's baby. When you really believe that, man, that makes you into a revolutionary, brother. Because poor folk and poor babies not treated the same way as babies and rich folks' babies and rich folk. It's not treated the same way. Black folk don't have the same value as white folk in a white supremacist world. And our world is still deeply shaped by white supremacy. So that turns you into a freedom fighter. It turns you into a love warrior. And that's precisely what has been at the best of who we are as a people, man.
Yeah, we're in a lot of ways, it's inept in us, right? It's inept in us to be freedom fighters, to be on code. Our background, our makeup, our DNA, our structure has always been about standing up for what's right. You know, even when what's right don't always benefit, that's what we have always done. And that's something that, you know, we always make that distinction about, is representing and holding down a code. We have a particular code, and code just means ethics. It just means ethics. And once you have those ethics, it's always good. Like Huey P. Newton said, you know, the revolution will be chosen by the people. You know, and he always said, we won tonight, let us be one in the future, power to all of the people. You know what I'm saying? But our people, number one. You know, so we always make it push, brother. That's one of the main things and the characteristics that define us. You can define our lineage, heritage, and culture as revolutionaries, freedom fighters, ethical, moral, strong, but they better put that foundational in it, because that is the very beginning.
That's a crucial thing. But keep in mind now, you tell me what you think.
Talk to me.
That it's still a choice that we make, though, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you can choose to be a coward as a Black person. You know what I mean? You could choose to be scared. Yeah. It's a choice. But the good news is, when you make the choice to be a force for good, you got a lot of wind at your back.
That's
because
true.
there's been a whole wave of Black folk who have made that choice in other circumstances, sometimes much worse than us.
That's true.
You know, I mean, we go back to your great-grandparents. Lord have mercy, you know what they were up against, brother.
Oh yeah, they were going through their version of what we're finishing today. You know, it's the struggle, and I tend to use the term struggle lightly, because though we struggle, we persevere, and we don't walk with our head down, we walk with our head to the sky, and we center everything in our excellence. But you're correct. Every single era has been defined by going against outsiders and foreigners who wish to do us harm and harassment at their, you know, so on and so forth. And what we're doing is we're all living in this generation's struggle, persevering, striving. We're all living in this era. So it's big. And I always say, we stand on their shoulders. We stand on their shoulders, and the ancestors are with us. Every single thing we do, your ancestors, my ancestors, they're all within us. About representing them. Hey, like I say, the same way everybody else represents their lineage and they represent their ancestors and their offspring, we do the same thing. And if we're all on that same page and everybody's coming at the table, proud of self, and then bringing that to the world, then we should all be able to meet at the table and hang out. And some of the folks that don't want to come to the table, that's the choice, as you say, that they make. But all of us who are operating and functioning on that basis of self-pride, self-persevering, self-lineage, self-strength, we will all meet at the table, and we can pass around the collard greens, the fried chicken, whatever it is that you bring to the table. I'm bringing some collard greens. I know that.
I'll take a little sweet potato pie myself.
Let's get it. Let's get it. I'm gonna bring the ones from the north and the south.
The north and the south. And the other thing too, though, man, you know, you don't want to ever give up on folk. I've been blessed teaching prisons for 42 years now.
Yes, sir.
And I've met some of the most magnificent brothers in prison. Yeah. And you could imagine at a particular point of their lives, you know, some of them in there who are innocent, to tell you the truth, but at a particular point in their life, the ones who are in there who actually did something bad, you know, killed somebody or whatever, that particular act does not fully define them.
Facts.
Because they can make choices to go another way.
Right.
And they actually can take it even to a higher level if they continue with the courage and the compassion, even though they did something in their past. So even when you have the table and folk might not come to the table at the moment, you still want to try to never give up on it. Let me put it that way. You never want to give up on it because they may turn the corner and end up moving to the table and take the table to a whole new level.
I seen one of your key points in your Black agenda was fighting against mass incarceration and preventing recidivism from going up high, because the system functions based on, I call it orchestrated recidivism, but I know that's one of the main key points that you're definitely passionate about, is stopping that. There's a prison, there's a preschool to prison, there's middle school to prison, there's college to prison, there's Black to prison, there's walking while Black prison. So I know for a fact that's one of the things that you've been pushing on. Can you tell everybody about the emphasis and passion that, other than just, vaguely, but in the deep fashion of why you wanted to push forth that?
Well, because you see, reparations and mass incarceration are two crucial pillars in terms of trying to make sure Black life can be improved and enhanced. That mass incarceration was one of the ways in which the powers that be engaged in the war against Black people.
Yes, sir.
You see, and reparations is based on the war against Black people, because that's what enslavement was. Instead of killing physically, they try to kill you socially, you see. And so mass incarceration emerged especially in the 1970s as a response to the Black freedom movement when we were becoming awake. And so they either killed off our leaders or bought off our leaders or incarcerated so many young folk who themselves were potential love warriors and freedom fighters. You see? And so the end of mass incarceration is really a quest not just for justice, but an acknowledgement that so much of our talent and many of our warriors on the love train, I'm talking about warriors concerned about love and justice, you see,
yes, sir,
were incarcerated. And to end that, it provides new kind of possibilities for people who want to stay on that love train, stay on that justice train. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I like to hear it. I like to hear that. And in terms of reparations, a lot of people wanted me to ask you, and the main focal point that the Black grassroots wants to focus on in reparations is mass incarceration, is land and everything, but cash payments. And I'm going to be honest, brother.
Cash payments very real. No, again, chapter 13.
This cash payment. Yes, William
chapter 13. Yes. Talking about $240,000 in 2020, and it's 2024 now. But he's got all the data. It's not just
the data's there. They pretend as if they can't find it. The data's there. And like you said, during the war, they get the data like that. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Whew. Absolutely.
Well, we've been in a war against white supremacy for 400 years, and we built the country in the process, so they can start with cash. Everything else is great when it comes to reparations, but cash payments, just like the Japanese, just like the Holocaust survivors, Joe Biden is giving $400,000 a piece to refugees separated by Trump at the border. I want all that. I want trillions of dollars, like William Darity speaks about, in terms of cash payments. So we believe that reparations starts at cash payments, and then everything else should be included in it as well. So that's the main thing that a lot of people are pushing for, particularly in the 2024 election, that is reparations over everything. And that's one of the main focuses. I'm one of the stern ones. I want all the dollars, the nickels, the pennies, because as we speak of ancestors and we speak about love warriors, that love and those ancestors built this country, and therefore they can give some money back to those love warriors and them ancestors in the name of the descendants and the offspring, which are us. So how do you feel about in terms of cash payment reparations?
Oh, no, that's a fundamental part of reparations. Though.
Love it.
There's no doubt about that. No doubt. But we got to keep in mind, though, and you tell me what you think now, brother, that, see, in the end, Black people can never be repaid for the price we paid. Never. You can't bring the bones of the bodies back to life that now rest at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands.
Yes, sir.
Hundreds of thousands of Africans who didn't make it. Then you can't bring back to life of those who were lynched, shot down by the police, women who were raped in white households. We can go on and on and on. You see, you can't repay that.
No.
So we don't want to mislead folk to think that, well, just a matter of giving us money and somehow we think that there's been a certain kind of a repay of the scope and breadth of the death. No, we understand that's not the case. This is symbolic. It's real in terms of cash, but it's still symbolic. You can never repay.
Never
those
repay.
debts. Never. No,
I tell people
you
this.
never repay.
For
People
those
getting
people
spit on and violated and rebuked and crushed and talked about. And so, no, you can't repay that. We then want truth and justice as the best that we can get in the form of finances and so forth.
And that's a good point. That's a great point. Now, I'm gonna say this to everybody out there. In terms of reparations, cash payment reparations, it's not just about us coming to the table and saying that it's going to be repaired. It's a debt owed. Like, for instance, if I go do work and I get harmed on the job, you pay my family for that in return. Our ancestors were harmed on the job of building this country, so they have to pay us back. And I will say this for everybody out there. In terms of cash payment reparations for the lineage of American freedmen, if you think for 1 second that the money does not exist, it's there, like me and you talked about. And also, in terms of repaying us, it's not necessarily about repayment, or it's not about healing, and it's not about fixing anything. It's about giving us our just due. And you can start with money, because living in a financial system, a savage capitalistic society, we know money is the #1 thing. So how do you repair people the most on an economic level, where we are economically deprived, mentally, physically, spiritually, socially, economically? The best way you do that is to give us money, cash payments, give us land we created, and give us all of our just due, and then we'll figure out everything after that. It's like this, what they say, money makes the world go round, right? If money makes the world go round, then we'll take that money and we'll make our own world go round, and we stand on that. Because remember, Dr. Martin Luther King, he didn't say we coming back to fix white supremacy. He didn't say we're coming back to Washington to heal everyone. He said we're coming back to get our check. And he was talking about zeros, he was talking about dollars, he was talking about money. And that's with the notion of everything else, we will be able to put ourselves in a position to handle our own problems, because we've always handled our own problems. But you cut the check first, and then we'll take care of everything else. Man, we're not accepting free Uber. We're not accepting DoorDash. We're not accepting a McDonald's value meal. That's what they want to give us. But in essence, what we're all out here striving for as foundational Black American and American freedmen and the Black grassroots, we want reparations, and we can start at cash payments and then work out everything else. We've always done it. And this is why we turn to a lot of the election process right now, and we're questioning politicians on the reparation stance. And I'll be honest, brother, you're about the only one I've actually seen mention it, because as we were saying, they run from conflicts across the country and across the world. They run, they jump over hurdles, obstacles, climb buildings to get away from the reparations conversation, but we're bringing it to the forefront. So I appreciate you, brother, for even having this conversation and speaking about it, because to be honest, you know, they don't want to address it. They don't want to talk about it. If they had their way, they would give our reparations money to everybody else. But in essence, we're coming to get our reparations money regardless. So I appreciate you, brother, for speaking to me about it.
Brother, in the name of truth and justice. But man, it's just been an unadulterated joy to be in conversation with you, though, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Really, and this is not the last time, but I mean, I really appreciate you taking this time. And I salute you and your audience, and you all just continue to be forces for good, my brother.
I definitely will, brother. And I want to thank you. You got my number, man. Let's stay in contact.
Yes,
I'll bring you back as the election comes on. We represent Black Off Network, the Black grassroots, strong. Everybody know it. And the power's in the people, and the people are right here in the Black grassroots, and I'm one of the representatives. And I always want to bring you on as the election comes near, brother, so you can speak the truth. You can always speak it the way you always speak it, brother, but just to the audience. You know what I'm saying? The names, the faces may change, but the people right here always want to represent it, man. So I appreciate you 100% for coming to. Where can people find your website where they can look at your agenda? They can look at all your policies and everything, brother.
Yeah, Cornell West 2024.com, Cornell West 2024.com.
All right.
We've got almost 15,000 volunteers, man. We hitting the ground. I already got Alaska in terms of the ballot. It's amazing how Alaska stepped to first.
Ain't that something? Ain't too bad out there in Alaska. The lineage goes down strong in Alaska.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
But all right, my brother. Love you, man. Salute you. God bless your family, man.
All right, much love and respect, brother.
God bless your family, though, man.
Appreciate
Definitely.
it.
Stay strong now.
All right. Yes, indeed. It don't stop. Oh, no, it do not stop. The same way that we're going to get our tangibles and we're going to get our reparations, and that don't stop, is the same way we're going to continue to push for political power. So, no, it ain't over yet, family. We're going to talk about the 2024 election going further, but we're going to talk about it from the national level all the way down to a local level, because we're going to cover it all. Foundational Black Americans, we built this country, right? So, therefore, we're going to talk about every single aspect of this country, all the way up to the top, family. So with that said, now, as speaking on the Black grassroots, let's bring on a Black grassroots on code candidate. And y'all know him very well. This is my good brother, your good brother, Gregg, Marcel, Dixon. How's it going, family?
I'm doing good, Alpha. How are you?
Man, lovely, bro, lovely. Appreciate you for coming through. This is election season, man. And it seems like we've been building up for this 2024 election. It's going to be very powerful. And you're one of the people out there who's been telling folks to get up and run or get up and support candidates who are on code, who have the best benefit for us in mind. So with that said, brother, let me ask you a question in terms of everything that's going on right now. What are what I would say the top 2 or 3 issues facing foundational Black American freedmen in this election?
Well, one, which should have been our main issue from the get-go, because it's really been our main issue for centuries, whether we were cognizant of it or not, is reparations. If we were any other group, like I said, when you and I were in Columbia, South Carolina, at that NAACP Butter Biscuit Buffet, because that's pretty much what it was, but we were there stomping for reparations. Like I said to the officers with whom I was speaking, any other group, they could be owed $5. They'll be out there every single day demanding the federal government repair the wrong done to them and pay them their $5. We are owed trillions. Not only do we deserve it, but damn it, we need it. So reparations is number 1. Number 2, well, it's not even number 2. It's really in position 1.5 is illegal immigration. Okay, we are being invaded. And really, I don't even know if that's fair to call it an invasion, because our government is pretty much facilitating it. So I should not say we're being invaded. I should say we are being replaced. The Democrats realize that we are waking up. So in order to avoid addressing our needs, they're doing what the corporations do. The corporations, when we demand a livable wage, hell with a livable wage, we demand a fair wage. The corporations say we're going to import a cheap labor force to replace American workers. The Democrats are saying, they're demanding things now for their vote that's kept us in power for 60 years. So now the Democrats are saying, let's import a new voter base. So they're trying to replace us in every aspect of American life in regards to the economy, in regards to politics. And number 3 has to be our protection. And that kind of goes in a package, reparations, and yet it is worthy of having its own category. We need our Freedmen's Bureau, which will be a form of government, like Native Americans have their own tribal government. We will have our own agency. It will be separate from the federal government, but it will be given a budget from the federal government, kind of like how the IRS operates. It will be staffed by us, it will be for us, and it will be quickly responsive to our needs. And that will come our anti-Black American hate crime bills. It will be an agency that responds directly to what we need, and the budget we receive from the government can be spent to address our issues. So that's, like I've always said, reparations, deportations, and protections.
I remember one time you also said call ICE and call them twice. I remember that as well.
Yeah. Well, that definitely goes along with the illegal immigration part.
Man, I love the way you interconnected them, because I always tell people reparations, stopping illegal immigration, that all go together, and hate crimes, because we're seeing that they're giving lot of money. Have you seen all the money that they give to illegal immigrants? Ain't that all reparations money right there?
Yes, it is. They're spending $451 billion, according to one study, a year in just housing and feeding illegal immigrants. On the state level, some of these illegal immigrants are being given rent-free apartments for 2 years, are being given $9,000 upon their arrivals, are being given the best jobs. No one even asks if they're qualified. Everyone was talking about affirmative action, which mainly benefits white women. No one's talking about the affirmative action that's benefiting these illegal immigrants. No background check is performed because we don't even know if we have their real name. No one asks if qualified to do the job. They're just illegal immigrants, and we automatically assume they're the best thing ever, and they're given jobs. Another study in the Washington Post in the year 2021 said that this federal government was spending $69 billion a week on just taking care of the minors, not including the adults, but just the minors. That's our reparations right there. That's not including all of the foreign aid, all of the money we spend on these stupid wars, the Pentagon budget, and how many times we bailed out these damn banks and these large corporations. Our reparations has been spent for everyone else who's not an American citizen even, and on people who are sure as hell not freemen. The Black Americans who are descendants of those who were emancipated.
That part all day long. That's why I love the saying, y'all. Y'all remember that? Y'all seen the signs in Columbia, South Carolina. Reparations over illegal immigration. That is the motto going forward, 2024 and beyond. I spoke to Cornel West earlier, and we had a conversation, and, you know, I had to let him know this is about lineage. This is about lineage. This is about status. You know, he spoke about, you know, the natives and all that. And I had to tell him, like, we are the natives. We are the indigenous. We are the people who built this country. It came from us. So I was glad to enlighten the brother, you know, because we have to stand on that business 24/7, 365. In terms of status, brother, can you please break down the freedmen, okay? How we are descendants, offsprings of freedmen, and how that term is so powerful in terms of us getting what belongs to us.
Definitely. Well, first of all, hats off to Dr. Cornel West. I think it's safe to announce now he will be running underneath the United Citizens Party here in South Carolina. That's a party that was started by freedmen in the 1960s when they realized that the Republicans nor the Democrats were going to do anything for us. They were going to just use it as a perpetual ping pong ball to say bad cop, good cop. So they said, we are going to start our own party. And they spoke of reparations in the 1960s. And Dr. Cornel West will be running on underneath their party platform. I'm not saying I agree with a lot of Dr. Cornel West's platform. I am definitely not for amnesty for these illegal immigrants. I am definitely for sealing the border. We only should invite an immigrant to this nation if we absolutely have to, and there's very little reason why we would have to. I'm definitely not for us aborting our beautiful black babies at all. But he does have a pretty good black agenda. He has to tighten up on the eligibility. And to that end, I will explain the freedman status. Pretty much the freedman status is a status that came into existence after the end of slavery. It was the status of those who were emancipated at the end of the Civil War and when slavery was finally abolished via the 13th Amendment. Well, you know, technically not necessarily completely, because you have that clause where if you are imprisoned, then it's still legal to enslave you. But chattel slavery was abolished. That brought about the freedman status. Underneath that status, we received policies that were specifically for us. Okay? The Freedmen's Bureau, we received housing, we received assistance, medical, with food, with work assistance. Now, a lot of people like to say that went to white people as well, but that's not true. White people were never considered freemen. They were considered refugees. And even during the days of the Freedmen's Bureau, they only received very little assistance. That was mainly with transportation. So the freedman status is doing what a lot of us are demanding, giving us specific policies to address those of our lineage. Now, the freedman status, people like to say, was just for those who were formerly enslaved, but that's not true. Because after the Freedmen's Bureau was defunded, there was a case that happened in the state of Connecticut where a federal court ruled that the term freeman did not just refer to those who were formerly enslaved, but also embrace their descendants. And that was in the legal jargon, even when it came to the 21st century. Okay? So the freeman status is the status of those of us who are Black Americans who are descendants of those who are emancipated. It's important for us to embrace that status because in the past, you can say black, and there was a time in this country where everyone black was pretty much a descendant of a person who was enslaved. That's not the case anymore. We have black people from Nigeria, Cuba, the Bahamas, Brazil, you name the country. So black is a racial term. You cannot do policies based on race. It will get struck down immediately based on the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. But you can do policies based on status. The government does it all the time. Native Americans, they go by their tribes, Choctaw, Navajo. Their tribes are political statuses, and they get their settlements based on their status. The intern Japanese, they receive their reparations not because they were Japanese, which is really a racial term that falls under Asian, but because they were internees. And in the case where they were deceased, their children received the reparations because they were the children of former intern Japanese. That is a status. We have to get reparations based on our status. I know a lot of people like to say foundational Black American. I even use that term, but that's a social term. Freedmen, and we are freedmen. We're not the descendants of freedmen because that'll be like saying we're descendants of Americans. No, we are actually freedmen. That's the status we have, and we have to be willing to embrace it because if we don't, Alpha, look at what they're doing. They're trying to bring back the Freedmen's Bank, and now they're trying to make it for Latinos and Asians. So if we don't embrace our status, trust me, they will.
Brother, I'm so glad you brought that up because when they just had that little Freedmen's Bank Bureau thing, I seen a bunch of Africans there, I seen Latinos there, and they weren't just in the crowd. They were the main ones, and Kamala Harris was facilitating the whole ordeal. So I'm glad you said that. We got to protect that term. And I'm glad you said that right there, brother, about you're a freedman all the time. You're consistently, not past, not back in the old days. You're consistently that. If you are of the lineage, that's consistently what you are. That's a very, very good point.
Yes.
And it's all about protecting it, brother. I appreciate that.
It was never rescinded. The Freedmen Bureau Acts 1 and 2 were never rescinded. The Freedmen Bureau was technically never rescinded. They just defunded it. They could allocate a budget to the Freedmen's Bureau right now, and it can be brought back, okay, into activity. Another thing I want to bring up, a lot of people say, well, the freedmen are the Black Americans who were enslaved by the 5 civilized tribes. By the way, they weren't civilized at all, but that's a whole other conversation. Man. No, those are Choctaw freedmen, Cherokee freedmen. Those freedmen are the Native American freedmen because they were enslaved by the 5 civilized tribes, which technically are their own nation. Those of us who were not enslaved by them, which are the majority, we are the American freedmen. We were enslaved by United States of America, not the Native American tribes who are technically their own nations.
Key point. See, this is why, family, we all got to have our verbiage completely concise and precise because they're waiting for any little slip up to remix it and slide in everybody else. I'm glad you pointed that out, brother. That actually leads me to another question I want to ask you. You're definitely boots on the ground, very politically active, really throughout the whole country because I seen you talking to Buttigieg. Where's he from? He's like, is that Indiana?
Indiana.
And you was pressing him. You feel me? So you're really politically all across the country, man. But especially down here in the South, brother, I know you're politically active. What are some of the methods that we got to take? The main reason I wanted to have this episode about the 2024 election, because I'm not going to sit back and let what happened in the 2020 election or the 2016 or 2012, the Obama era, where we have great ideas. It's just no one ever says anything about it on a mainstream level. I always say, now it's time for the movement to go platinum. The underground rapper that's real good, but don't nobody know who he is, that's not going to cut it anymore. So I wanted to bring on Dr. Cornel West to bring him on so we can bring our agenda to him. We got to quit waiting for these people to come to us all the time. I know you have attended events. I've seen you personally at rallies. I've been there with you. We done got kicked out of protests together. It really wasn't even a protest. It was just us there, but that's another story.
Yeah, it was a show of support. And it was there to educate, activate, and motivate.
You told me that when we went to Savannah, and you mentioned something to me, and I want to bring this to the family listening. You said, Alpha, you'd be surprised how many people support reparations. It just isn't articulated to them good enough, and nobody brings it to them. So the same way I want to bring Cornel West and all these other political candidates to our table so they can talk our issues. Tell everybody what it's like and what you see, family, when you actually are politically active and you run across people from different political parties, different spectrums, different areas of the country. What is it like when you present the real Black grassroots, Black agenda to them?
As you saw, it is very, very rare you will find a black person, whether they're freedmen or not, who will speak against reparations. Of course, you're going to find, the typical raccoon that will be against it, but that's a very, 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 very rare. Right. I'll say maybe 1 out of every 20. And it's almost unheard of, even though you will encounter this person as well. It's almost unheard of that you will encounter a freedman, okay, someone of the lineage who is against reparations. And yet, here's why that works against us sometimes. Because they're for reparations, you have NARC and COBRA, groups like that, who will take their support of reparations and cause them to support something that's faux reparations, and it's really not reparations. And there, when they read headlines like Evanston, Illinois is doing reparations, giving a $25,000 house voucher in an area where homes cost $600,000, and our people are like, I can't afford a home here. Can I just get the $25,000 to buy food and furniture? That's a desperate situation in which our people are in. They will say to our people, that's reparations. That is not reparations. True reparations is a hell of a lot more than $25,000. It comes from the federal government. If the state level wants to do something, if the municipal level wants to do something, that's great. But true reparations comes from the federal government that did the wrong or allowed the wrong. Or I should say, and allowed the wrong. But most of our people support it, but they're misinformed about what reparations should be and how it should look. And unfortunately, we have not been on the ground well enough. Too many of us are running people down on Twitter, and we're really just running our mouths to people who really support reparations already, or who have made up their mind that they're against it. We need to be educating people offline that they don't get hooked and reeled in to something that is really not reparations, but is being labeled as such.
Miseducation, misdirection, and misrepresentation. That's something that we've been trying to conquer in the Black grassroots for a long, long, long time. And I'm glad now that we're finally doing it. Brother, in the 2024 election and all the other, candidates that come to our table, because like I said, we want to bring everybody to our playground. Come and talk to us on our issues. If not, we'll come to your house and your playground and bring our issues with us. But we have to start interacting and engaging with these politicians, the people who really are running. That leads me to another thing I want to ask you about the 2024 election, because this is going to be a very, very important election. Not one of them vote blue no matter who, and it's the most important election because your grandparents and your ancestors died if you had the right to vote. No, it's going to be one because, like you said, brother, it's time for some reparations in the in the form of cash payments. But we got this duopoly. We got these Republicans, we got these Democrats. But in the middle, we're starting to see centrists, and we're starting to see independent people. We're starting to see people who run based on policy opposed to party. Can you tell everybody what it's like in terms of seeing that wave sweeping the whole country, especially when it comes to the Black agenda, and how we can find that middle ground of policy over just voting blue no matter what?
So I have two models. One is where the cameras go, we must go. Ooh. They're not going to really cover our movement. Anything that is a valid, systemic form of justice and repair for Black Americans, freedmen, they're going to want to try to shush that real quick, because that means our people are going to wake up and realize that what we need to have done should have been done a long time ago, and that the party for which our people have been voting, I'm not saying most of our people vote for this party, because a lot of our people are sitting out elections and you really can't blame them. But I'm saying those of us who do vote, they're going to wake up and see, hey, I've been voting for this particular party, and they've been doing nothing for me, and this is what they should have been doing, and yet they've been doing all of these for other groups. So because they're going to try to lock us out, we have to go to where the cameras are, which is sometimes one of the reasons why I choose to show up and I choose to speak out. The second thing I say is that we either going to run, meaning you run for office, or you support the person running for office, or they're going to run us over. Okay? So I say I could care less about policy. About party. I really don't care. It's about policy. I don't care if you're running under the Constitution, Green, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. It has to be policy. And I encourage people, whichever party umbrella under which you choose to run, or if you choose to run as an independent, make sure your policies have a specific, I say Black agenda, but freedmen agenda. That's what dictates the party. The people make up the party. So if a lot of people are running under a party banner, but they have policy that's speaking to our needs, that means that party will now be speaking to our needs. And as far as the middle ground, well, whatever ground that's going to have people standing up for us, we're going to have to be the ones standing on that ground because it ain't going to happen no other way. They done seen us. We're going through an economic genocide. We're going through a political genocide. And at times in this country, it can happen again. People will argue it's happening now, a physical genocide. People may argue it's never stopped. Okay? If they've seen all this happen to us and their heartstrings, their hearts not moved to do something for us, their political survivals is not moving them to do anything for us, nothing's going to move them to do anything for us. So we have to get moving.
Brother, that's what I'm talking about. I like how you said it. Go where the cameras go. Go where the cameras go. Do not be afraid.
Don't let them ignore us. Now.
Never. Do not ever let them ignore us, deny us, neglect us, and don't be afraid to approach these people because they come around, they sing and they dance, they got the collard greens and the hot sauce. But if you're going to talk on that and you're going to mock our lineage, then you're going to have to deal with real policies based on us, and we're going to have to start bringing these people to it. I always say, and I've been saying it a lot, and I said it in the beginning of the show, it's time for the movement to go platinum. It's time for us to take it a step further. Like you said, brother, the running down or really the walking and stumbling and falling down.
That's really what it is. Exactly.
The running off Twitter spaces, it's not going nowhere. We got to be out there ever present and letting everybody know that we're representing in the highest fashion. Now, brother, reparations. In terms of getting reparations in the form of cash payments, you said something that I want to really highlight because people are overlooking this. You seen, as a matter of fact, I seen you roast one of them. I think it was Cam Howard, one of those in Cobra Narc irrelevant guys. They're pushing, super irrelevant. They're pushing race-based reparations because they know that will get struck down. And when we have these conversations, I noticed this, and this is what I was telling Cornel West. I said, we can't sit here and base this off of race. It ain't about who's the great descendant from Africa. It's about freedman status, nationality, ethnicity, and lineage because we have a nationality claim. When it comes to us, they always want to make us have a race claim, like for the whole damn race on the planet Earth. Explain to people the importance of watching these people who, particularly in Cobra and Narc, who try to push race-based reparations and why that is something that they on purpose do so they can derail us getting a nationality lineage claim.
Well, first of all, Cam Howard is here in South Carolina. He's being very active. I just want to put that out there, everyone. He's been in South Carolina for a few weeks now, and he's been pushing that Earn the Vote initiative. Now, on the surface, it sounds good, right? Earn the vote. We can think Cam Howard is saying, yeah, they got to do something for us to get that vote. No, what he is doing is what he's attempting to do with reparations and what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like they're trying to do reparations, but they're going to make it race-based, knowing it will fail. So they want to give the pretense so they can at least go and do their little media tour and say to black voters, you see, we're doing reparations, but those evil Republicans are trying to stop us because they don't want y'all to have reparations. So let's say the Republicans and the Democrats have a back row meeting because they do, and let's say reparation passes the House, the Senate, and gets Joe Crow Biden's signature. It will get immediately struck down by the Supreme Court because it's race-based, and they know it will get struck down. But that way they can say, we tried, y'all, but they don't try for the Japanese Americans. They got their reparations, the intern Japanese Americans. They didn't try for the Iranian hostages. They got their reparations. The Guamanians, the downwinders. For those of you who don't know the downwinders, those are the people who are exposed to nuclear radiation. They are still getting reparations as we speak, and their children are getting it too, right now as we speak. They don't try for the Holocaust survivors in regards to Germany, but even America has done forms of reparations for the Holocaust survivors. As a matter of fact, Germany would not be doing reparations for the Holocaust survivors if not for the United States of America. They didn't try for them, they did it. But they are setting it up to fail by making it race-based because they know the 14th Amendment pretty much prohibits race-based legislation. And it's pretty much in the post-civil rights legislation era, it will get struck down immediately. They know there is no precedent for race-based reparations. The intern Japanese Americans didn't get reparations because they were Asians. Okay, all Asians didn't get reparations because that particular group of Japanese Americans were put in concentration camps. All Japanese Americans did not even get reparations, just those who were put into those concentration camps. And in the event where they were dead, their surviving spouses got it, or if their spouse was there, their children got it. The downwinders, all people who were living in the four corner states which is the states in the Midwest, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. I probably have my geography messed up where they were doing nuclear testing. All the people in those states are not getting reparations. Just those who were exposed to the radiation from America's era of nuclear testing, and their descendants are getting it too. They didn't say give it to all the people who are in that area, just those who are the people who were impacted. Same thing with the Iranian hostages, okay? Those people who are in that group got reparations. They try to make it race-based, say people of African descent. That is a big failure because technically all of us are of African descent. You go back far enough with any person, they say it's going to trace back to a person who's on the African continent. They can't say black because it was not all black people's ancestors who were the 4.5 million who were emancipated at the end of the Civil War in the United States of America. And those are your ancestors. Those are my ancestors. Okay. So the reparation goes to a black American person who is a descendant of one of those people who are emancipated because we were the group targeted. What Cam Howard tries to say that he's attempting to do is a harm-based model. Here's the problem with that. It sounds good on the surface, but he says a harm-based model. Any group that was harmed by Jim Crow and redlining. And he says it will be a small group of black people from Africa and the Caribbean. That makes it race-based because technically a white person could say, I was harmed by Jim Crow too. I was harmed by redlining too. Because the truth of the matter is Jim Crow and redlining did hurt all of America. Okay, it really did. However, everyone was not targeted by Jim Crow and redlining. It was done to target freedmen. And the debt for reparations immediately became owed the moment slavery ended. And the group that was formerly enslaved was us. That debt was owed to us the moment slavery ended. It just became a higher debt when they decided to terrorize us with sharecropping, land theft, racial massacres, Jim Crow, redlining, housing covenants, you name it.
Man, it's fun, brother. I'm glad you said that because he completely leaves the door open for your $5 FBA, your $2 freedmen,
white
your
people,
$3.72 black American. They leave the door open completely.
White people. There are many white people, especially in states like South Carolina and Georgia, that have black ancestry. Okay, but they're not freedmen. They're not classifying themselves as black Americans. Okay. Their parents were not, their grandparents were not, their great-grandparents were not. But using Cam Howard's model, they will qualify for reparations because those same white people can argue and say, well, I was hurt by Jim Crow and redlining. I lived around a lot of black people and the area was dirt poor because of Jim Crow. That's what Cam Howard is doing. And like I said, I support a bill that can address harms that the American government did. I feel if the American government wronged any group, then the American government has the responsibility to repair that wrong. I agree with the devil, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, in this regard, I agree with Ronald Reagan. He said, if the government has caused the problem, the government needs to fix the problem.
Yep.
Okay? So I support legislation that can bring repair to other groups that were done wrong. But reparations for chattel slavery, that is only to the freedmen, and that was owed the moment chattel slavery ended in 1865. It's just become a higher debt because they've refused to pay it. And every day this country refused to pay it, this government refused to pay it, it becomes higher and higher. It doesn't come from the American people. It comes from the American government, as did all other forms of reparations. And when they decided to target us with sharecropping, Jim Crow, and redlining, when they decided to discriminate against us and exclude us from wealth building programs like the GI Bill, the Homestead Act, Social Security Act, the Labor Union Act, the price of the debt became even higher.
We coming back for all of that in interest.
Exactly.
All of that stacked up.
Yes, like they've done for other groups. Reparations is not a new concept. America has done it before, and America is doing it now. The only time people have an issue with reparations in this country is when it's for the freedmen, black Americans who are descendants of the emancipated, and that shows the true hatred. You know what's funny, Alpha? I've been doing a lot of text banking to people in my area. And I was having a conversation with this white guy, a good conversation. He started off rude, but we started having a good conversation. And he was like, well, what about the Irish? I said, you know what? It's very funny when y'all ask me that question. You are pretty much admitting you don't have an issue with reparations, because if I wrote you and said I want to do reparations for the Irish who were not enslaved, that's a myth. But if I wrote you and said I want to do reparations for the Irish, you're saying to me you would support it. So you support reparations for the Irish, you support reparations for the so-called red Native Americans, but you have an issue with it when I take those groups and switch them with Black Americans, freemen. So you don't have an issue with reparations. You have an issue with whom the reparations for chattel slavery, Jim Crow redlining, and government-sanctioned discrimination will go to, and that's Black American freemen. When people say that, they're pretty much admitting, I don't have anything against reparations. I just don't want you freedmen to have it.
That's what you call the checkmate. And you notice too, they'll say the Irish, they'll say the Italian, they don't say race-based for all white people. Then they get
exactly. Very good point. They specify, they get specificity then.
Woo. When it comes to us, they seem like they don't know. Brother, 2024 election coming up, November, big year. Everything's going down locally, national, all across the board. We got Jimmy Crow Joe Biden. Now they call him Genocide Joe. You got Donald Trump coming up. It's just a crazy time, man. But we're
yes,
on
it is.
How do you feel, brother, about that election briefly? And then I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, where they can donate, because it's time that we stand on soil, we stand on business, and we ride together, we shine together. And it's time to get behind our own code, Black grassroots candidates. And our brother right here is the main one, a real trailblazer, brother. So can you tell me about this election in general, and then tell everybody where they can find you, man? We'll bring it on home.
Well, as far as this election goes, look here. We are the people for whom we've been waiting. That might sound cliche, but it's the truth. If we don't become the reparations candidates, then we will have none.
Right.
Okay? And people have often said to me, Marcel, in my area, there's no one running a reparations platform, that no one has a Black agenda. Yes, there is. There's someone who could have a reparations platform. There's someone who could have a Black agenda. I tell them where to find that person. Go in your bathroom, look in the mirror, and that person looking back at you, that's the person who could have a reparations agenda, who could have a Black agenda platform. You need to ask that person why they are not running for office to have it. So if you don't have anyone that you feel is deserving of your vote and your support in your area, then you become the person who has a platform that's deserving of your support and your vote in your area. Number two, I won't even say after reparations. Right on reparations hill is the issue of illegal immigration. We have to stop this invasion. I don't give a damn if there are some anti-Black American white bigots who probably hate us, who are against legal immigration. Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day. I may align with them. That doesn't mean I love them. That doesn't mean I care about them. I despise a bigot. I absolutely do. But if those bigots are Americans and they are saying that this illegal immigration has to stop, then in this case, we just happen to align with those bigots. We have to stop this invasion. So I would say, if you are in an area and you chose not to run for office, have reparations on your platform, but there's a candidate who's running on stopping this illegal immigration invasion, then I would encourage you to seriously consider voting just for that alone. But don't be fooled. Don't let them say they're going to close the border. That's very empty and very vague. Ask them the question I asked RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr.'s team. I asked his team, okay, he wants to close the border down. That's great. What is he going to do with the ones that's already jumped and hopped over the border? And then they got quiet. No, you're not going to close the border down and then give amnesty to 22 to 30 million illegal immigrants. If they are not for immediate mass deportation, they don't deserve your support. But if they are talking the talk and walking the walk, I do not like Governor Gregg Abbott of Texas. I don't. I think he's just one of the good old boys who can't stand our guts either. But you have to give the man credit. He is standing his ground. He is he's incurring the wrath of the federal government as we speak. Yep. If they are not willing to stand their ground like he, and I don't like Brian Kemp either, who's right there in my neighboring state, my birth state of Georgia. But Brian Kemp, those are some of the governors who are standing their ground on illegal immigration. My governor, Governor McMaster, he's letting illegals just take over South Carolina. He talks a good game, but he ain't doing nothing. Brian Kemp ain't playing that over in Georgia.
No.
I will consider people who are willing to really get these illegals out of here. Y'all, we have to. Because if not, look at the history in this country. Every wave of immigration has simply imported people who have turned brutally, if they were ever forced, who have pretty much made Black Americans, freemen, their number one target. If we think we have people now who are against reparations, imagine 22 to 30 million illegals getting the right to vote. Do you really think they're going to be for us? If, as far as the ones from Latin America go, look at how they treat Afro-Latinos in their country. I've been to 6 or 7 Latin American countries, and every time I went there, the Afro-Latinos were always the ones to the bottom of society. They didn't get there because they didn't work hard, because of a lack of intelligence. They got there because of government-sanctioned terror, very similar to what was done to us in the United States of America, and really what is still being done. As far as me, you can find me at marcelforcongress.com. Please leave a donation. Donations do not win a race. They really don't. But they help a person get the word out about their campaign. That's what donations do. Right now, the biggest, outside of donations, another source of support is the sign up to help me mail out flyers. Okay, if you want to do that, you can email me at info@marcelforcongress.com, and you can sign up to do it on my website. You go to contact on my website and send an email and say you're interested in mailing out flyers. I cannot afford a mailer. Mailers, I think I priced 10,000 people being contacted by a flyer can cost as much as $30,000. Okay. However, volunteers, I provide you with the flyers. I provide you with the addresses. You will pay for the envelopes and the stamps, and you mail out the flyers to people in my district. That helps a lot. That's one of the main sources of support I can have right now outside of donations.
Yes, sir. All day. Black grassroots candidates, Black agenda, foundational, Black American freedman status. That's what it's all about. I want everybody right now, as this ends, we got this political energy, political prowess. I want you guys to donate to our brother right now. I want you guys to go ahead and sign up.
marcelforcongress.com/donate.
Y'all know what it is, and it's all in the link, all in the chat. Y'all know this is us. We ride together, we shine together. I would tell people, we don't flee, we don't hide, we stand on business, and we multiply. So it's time to multiply, you guys. Let's get behind our brother. Let's get behind the whole movement. Each one teach one. We all do a little, we all do a lot. 2024. If there's no better time than now, it ain't ever gonna come. And you already know there's nobody better than us. So let's continue to do it. We support you 100,000,000%, brother. Let's continue this movement, man. Y'all all support our good brother, Gregg, Marcel, Dixon, and we're gonna continue this political prowess energy all the way across the board. We're going to come back and get everything that's ours, man. You know, I appreciate you, brother. Let's continue to work, man. We on the man heavy, man. The ball's in our court, man. Let's go ahead and sink that shot, brother.
Alpha, may I say something real quick?
Yes, sir.
And this might be a little controversial, but what the hell? We have to get over this whole don't talk to white people thing. Don't talk to Asian people thing. Listen, there are the majority, every moment in this nation's history, abolition of slavery, civil rights era, which we're still in the civil rights era, but the civil rights era of the mid-1900s, the majority of white people have always been against us getting our justice. So when we see them against reparations, we should not be surprised. We should be expecting that. That should show us we're on the right path. If they were for whatever it is we were stumping, that should be red flags. However, there were white people then who supported the abolition movement, who supported civil rights legislation. There are white people now who do support reparations. We have to speak to white people. We do. The more people who are for our reparations movement, the easier time we will have getting it done. We have to talk to Asian people, red Native Americans, Hispanics, people who are Black immigrants or Black immigrant descent. We have to make the case to people that reparations is going to benefit them as well. I know on Twitter, it's all good to get in a Twitter space of 50 to 100 people and yell out how on cold we are and F them people. On the ground, it's a whole different experience. As many, I'm not going to say the word ally because you have to earn that word with me. But there are some allies out there, but you have to earn me calling you an ally. But there are people who support our reparations movement, and there are people who support it and don't even know it yet. I know because I talk to such people. We have to make the case to people. We have to show them that reparations will benefit them as well, even though it does not go to them. That's not raccooning. That's not selling out. That's called being politically smart. And it's called facts, because reparations will be the best thing that can happen for this country, which is why the worst things continue to happen to this country.
And it's been statistically proven that reparations would stimulate the economy. We all know this, and I've seen you talk to people. We've been together, and I've seen you talk to people about reparations, and they go from 0 to 100 in terms of understanding,
exactly,
and believing. I've seen
it can be done, and we have to talk to all people. We have to let people know that what happens to Black America is eventually going to happen to you. So if you're saying this government can do the things that even white people know, if you're saying this government can do all the horrific things it's done to Black Americans and not have to repair it, be careful of the message you're sending to the government about the things they can do to you. On the other hand, if the government realizes if they do any group wrong, they have to repair it, and they do it for us, they will that much more readily do it to you. So I just want to always send that message.
Yes, sir. Politically savvy. This is a political thing. All the emotion at the door, we'll leave the emotion on Twitter. This is all about business, all about perspective, all about being focused. We're going to build with the people. We're going to serve the people, and we're going to always focus on the people. And mind you, this for everybody, when you're on code and you have a Black first agenda, when you have a Freedman first agenda, that's your shield. You can walk into any political room with any political party, with any race of people, and you got that shield that stops all the nonsense because you're staying true to yourself. And that's what our brother's referring to. We take our agenda everywhere. We tell candidates to come to our places or we go to their places, but we bring that Freedman flag. And when you got that Freedman flag with you, everything is good 100%. Yes, sir. Brother, tell them again where they can find you.
MarcelForCongress.com/donate. Okay, because that's important. And if you can send your email on my website at contact to sign up to mail flyers, that's a big help. And you can mail flyers from anywhere in the country. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. You can also sign up to send text messages and make phone calls. And those are things you can do from the comfort, privacy, and safety of your own home, but they go a long way.
You're right there. Yes, sir. We're going to put it all on the line. Everybody, let's get behind our brother. We already with our brother. Let's shine, y'all. Much love and respect to you, brother. On code Canidate. Let's support the family. I appreciate you for coming through and speaking some of that real political prowess, political savvy, bro. I appreciate you all the way across the board, man. Certified salute, brother.
Alpha, thank you so much.
All right. Yes, indeed, family. This right here has been the first of many episodes on the Black Alpha Network. Subscribe to the channel where we're going to get our true political power. We're going to push our Black agenda, and that is all about reparations in the form of cash payments. And we will tell anybody and everybody, and we won't take no steps back. And we're going to represent our lineage because we're not like everybody else. They can do what they do over there. We're going to do what we do right here, and we're going to be loud and proud with it. So it's foundational Black American freedmen above all. But this is going to be the first of many episodes, family, where we make sure our voices are heard. Because one thing for certain is that foundational Black American freedmen in this generation and this time, oh, we different. We different. What we speak is going to be heard by everybody because they watching anyway. We said it's all eyes on FBA, and it's still all eyes on FBA. So while they watching, family, we're going to go ahead and put on the show. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Y'all make sure y'all tune in to the Black Alpha Network. We're going to continue to talk politics. We're going to continue to bring on politicians. I don't care where you at. You're going to have to come and see us. So we're going to make sure everything knows either it's going to be no tangibles, no vote, or it's going to be voting for ourselves. But I guarantee you, whatever path that we choose to take, and we can take whatever one we choose to, it's going to be one that benefits the whole FBA family tree. So y'all stay tapped into the Black Alpha Network. We getting bigger every day. We building, we working, we shining, we grinding. We undefeated, we undisputed, and we stronger than ever. And always remember that Black is beautiful, and beautiful is always Black. One love.
Black Alpha Network. Home of Black excellence. Power to the people.